Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a really quick review of Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. This book didn't work for me. I'm just going to get that right out there at the start because I don't want you to go forward watching this if you love this or if this is something that's just totally worked for you and you thought it was great. You could just skip the review. I didn't like it. Didn't work for me. I didn't like the characters, didn't feel connected to the story, and did not buy in to the story one bit. Character reactions didn't make sense to me, the way that the plot progresses, and also the end result. Like the whole ending, I do not believe. And also the morality and what we're told and what we have to buy into for the ending to work, I didn't buy into. So I will say this felt like very much first draft style writing. I've heard that Fable by this author is really, really good. I have Fable. I plan to read it. So this may have been one of her earlier novels, but I just did not connect with these characters. And it's, this is Vikings, and I was bored. I don't know how you make Vikings boring, but this is boring. So it starts off with two Viking clans, and there's the Oska. Let me make sure. Yeah, Oska, and I'm going to put it here because I know I'm going to mispronounce everything, and the Riki, and they are the two clans fighting against each other. This is a blood feud. Their gods hate each other, so they have to fight every year. This has been going on forever, is what we're led to believe. So this book starts out with the main character, who's our 17-year-old Viking warrior. Okay. And she is going into battle, and that's the beginning of the book. Starts off with her in battle, and she sees her brother that she believed to be dead fighting with her enemy. And that's kind of like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Where are we going from here? And if you read the synopsis of this book, like on Goodreads or just, the back cover of this book, you will know everything you need to know. This is not a deep book. This is like, I was waiting for the confrontations that needed to happen in this book for me to buy in. I was waiting for the emotions and for the characters to make me feel something that you should feel when you believe that you have faced the ultimate betrayal and ultimate humiliation. And I just, nope. And I feel like I would be much more calm now. I'm in my 30s, my late 30s. And but this girl is 17, where I was at the height of my emotion. I would have been so furious about some of the stuff that happens. And she what happens is they always tell us her thoughts, oh, I could kill that person. Oh, I could do this. Oh, I could just, slaughter them in their sleep. And then she never does it. And I'm like, no, you need to act on this. You need to show us. Don't tell us. You need to show us that this is a BA character who's going to fight no matter what. But they can't do that because that won't work for the story later. So they have to make her what the story needs. And I didn't like it. So our main character, Elin, or Aelin, however you think that should be pronounced, is fighting. She sees her brother. She is convinced that after the battle, that it wasn't really her brother. It was his spirit, and it's actually him coming to her and showing her that he has passed into the afterlife. So it was like a blessing that she was able to see him, and he came and, saved her in battle, and was his spirit. And this is to show that he has actually made it to their afterlife. So then, of course, this scene ends with one of two animal sacrifices that happens in the book. So if you do not want to have to deal with two animal sacrifices and a torture scene that are quite graphic, and I feel like we're put in for this kind of shock factor and look how edgy this book is, but in reality it just annoyed me. I was so annoyed. I'm like, I don't care about this. And then you want me to buy into these cultures, and it's oh, here we're just killing an animal because we're killing an animal. And I get that animal sacrifice happened back then. I just don't want to read about it. And I didn't feel like it added anything to the story in any way. So yeah, you're going to have to deal with reading about a goat and an owl being killed in animal sacrifices. And then there's quite a graphic torture scene, which I will reference later. But there's your trigger warnings right there. I was so irritated. No one's fault but my own. I could have stopped reading at any time, but this was kind of a buddy read, and so if you're reading this with me, I'm sorry, because this was not very good. So yeah, that's she goes into battle then the next day after this and sees her brother again. And this time she's convinced this is not a spirit. This is not my brother coming back to show me that he survived, or like that he's living happily in our afterlife. He survived somehow, and he's fighting with our enemy. So her brother's name is Erie, and he is with another guy named Fisk. I'm putting them here. And they're fighting, and he's telling her, like, don't follow me. I can't interact with you. Like, we're fighting on opposite sides. Like, hey, like, pay attention here. Like, I'm with them now, and this guy wants to kill you. So she gets wounded, and they decide, instead of killing her, which would have, I believe, always been the plan, except for her brother saves her, and you're kind of like, okay, so what's going on here? How evil is this brother? So they decide to take her back, and they're on their way back to the Riki village. There's like, is she going to try and escape? She kind of, has this, okay, well, I'm going to try and get out of here. She's so upset. All that's left for her back home is her dad. Her mother has already died, and we'll get into that. But the mother was killed in a raid by another tribe. Once again, we'll get into that. So all she has left is her dad because she believes her brother's dead. So she's on their way back there, and in order to kind of save her, they end up making her a slave. So this is, put the word here that they use, but she is given like a metal collar, and this is to show that she is humiliated. She is no longer a like warrior to be like feared. She is a slave, and she is in particular Fisk's slave, if that's how you're saying that name. Fisk? Yeah. She's his slave. So if you're already wondering, like, is this the romantic interest? Yes, of course, because why wouldn't they make her his slave and then have them have a romance later? And Aelin and Fisk, the way that they like threaten each other, I don't know if the author was going for this as like, oh, it's like, they have some kind of tension, but I didn't feel that at all. When he's saying like he'll hurt her and she's saying like, oh, I'll stab you. Like, I was like, oh no, I buy into the fact that he would just kill her and she would just kill him if she was able. He is not killing her because of the brother, but otherwise, like, she'd just be dead. So anyway, Erie, the brother, they're back. She's in the state of, like, ultimate humiliation. She believes that now that she's a slave, that this is actually could compromise her chances of getting into their afterlife. And now it's like, okay, what are we going to do? So she goes back, and it seems like Erie has just been adopted into the Riki tribe. He's living with Fisk and the family, which is the mom and a little brother. And then there is a love interest for for Erie, too. And I did not even care about their names. These were non-characters to me. These are we need to have other people to interact with. We have to humanize the other tribe so you can buy in to what's going to happen later. So she has to see them as like, oh, they're just like us. Apparently it's, she's a slave. Let's just think about that for a minute. So like morality is out the window at this point. There are no good people. She is basically a slave. She is a slave. She's a slave. And she's just being told what to do, and she does it. And I was thinking this, and I'm like, if that were me at that age, no less, they would have been hauling me around by a chain. There is no way I would be out there, gathering medicine as she's doing and doing their household chores. Like, you would have had to beat me multiple times. And that's what they should, like, in my opinion, this is what they should have shown. They should have shown you need to establish that she has this unbreakable will, that she is so strong, that she's a strong character, that she can't be beaten down, that she's not going to accept being a slave. No matter if she thinks it's going to get her through to the winter, and they're kind of implying that, like, once the winter's over, like, we can try and send you back. No, it would not matter. Like, you don't go through that and, like, supposedly, as this really super strong female character, and just take it. And I really just didn't like that about that character, that she just didn't have anything to her. She was supposedly a strong character. She gets assaulted a couple times and she ends up being saved. But, I mean, every time she's, like, put up against a guy in this, like, Riki village where they're hurting her or, like, they're trying to attack her because she is the enemy, she doesn't end up getting saved, but it's, like, she's also not strong enough to, like, go toe-to-toe most of the time. And so then you're kind of undermining her as this, like, great warrior who supposedly can do all this amazing stuff. Okay, so she's there. The author is trying to establish, like, she's seeing that, they're just like us. They have their same, animal sacrifices. They have their same families, and, they're just people. Okay, remember that. So then you have the whole relationship of, her and Fisk. It's kind of like he saves her, so I guess she has to fall in love with him. This did not make any sense. There was no chemistry, came out of nowhere. I did not believe their romance at all. So the other thing that doesn't really get addressed, and Aelin has every right to be pissed. She has every right to be angry. She has every right to feel betrayed and just like act out off of that. I feel like that was one thing that like people didn't like about Katniss, was that she was very like emotionally driven. But I'm like, yeah, you're darn right. Like she has emotions and feelings. And I'm like, Aelin doesn't have that. She doesn't come off like a real person who's reacting to these horrible things. It's like, well, I'm so sad. I'm so betrayed. Are you? Where do we see that? And there's not, like, Eerie doesn't have a really good reason for why he's betrayed his whole clan and is now fighting with the enemy. That's the other thing that I was so mad about, because I was waiting for the huge confrontation and the reasoning behind it. Like, we must have this amazing reason for why he's like just turned his back on his clan and his people and is fighting against his dad and his sister and everyone he knows. But it's basically like, I thought I was going to die. Like, you guys left me on the battlefield with a wound that, to the best of their knowledge, they would have not believed he could have survived. So they believed he was dead. He met Fisk. They survived together. They kind of like became brothers in the trenches, as it were. And they go back and he just kind of becomes adopted into their family. And he's like, well, you guys left and they saved me and I'm part of this tribe now. That reasoning only goes so far. So I could believe that he would be like, okay, I can't fight anymore. I can't fight against the Riki. They saved me. I'm like bonded to Fisk and he's like my brother and I'm going to marry this girl that I know now and I've been living with them and I'm part of this tribe. I can buy all of that. I cannot buy that he then turns around and goes and fights against his dad, his sister, everyone that he knows, everyone that he grew up with, and is like, okay, no, I'm on the opposite side now. There was just not enough of a turning point. There was not enough of a motivation. He knows they didn't abandon him. He knows that they would have seen him and thought, he can't survive that. Like, he's dead. For all intents and purposes, he is dead. Like, they did not believe he could live. They didn't just like, oh, hey, we're not going to try. We're not going to save him. Like, they believed he was a fallen warrior, and they don't take the fallen warriors back because they died, like, honorably. And so, yeah, the whole thing, like, why is he fighting against them? Where's the confrontation? Like, there's times where they talk, and she's like, why? And he's like, because I'm one of them now. And I'm like, what? I have siblings. That is not how that would go down. When I tell you the amount of anger, like the swear words, the emotion, I would physically beat the heck out of one of my siblings if that were me. And she's supposedly like a warrior. So she's just like, okay, well, I'm sad. And like, but then she's also kind of, she has to buy into, okay, they're just like us. I'm seeing it. And we have to kind of believe that she's seeing that they're, we're all just people and they're a clan and we're a clan. And like, why are we really fighting? I don't know. Why are you? We're not going to establish like a really good reason for that because we have to move on to the ending, which makes no sense. So the whole buildup of the book is we're all people, we're all human, we're all kind of dealing with this very harsh world. It's, Vikings and we're just trying to survive. But there's another tribe called the Herja. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And they are evil. Why? Because they, instead of being part of, the Riki or the Oska who are fighting on behalf of their gods and just fighting because of blood feud, this other clan comes in and they like raid and they kill and then they leave. And so they've like established this kind of reputation as like, are they even human? Which obviously they are because they can be killed. And we establish like very obviously, these are humans. There's no question. I mean, like if the book would have gone the route of them being like in some way evil or, some kind of spirits or something, that would have been better. But no, these are humans, just another clan. And so the Riki get attacked. She's there. She sees this, the Herja, and it's the evil tribe. And I'm like, okay. So we're not all the same. We're not all equal. We're not all just trying to make it. We're good. Like the Oska are good. The Riki are good. The Herja are evil. We need to unite against them. And we're going to kill them and like wipe them off of, the face of the earth. Like they don't deserve to live. Like you're undermining your point book. You're not saying what you think you're saying. So the ending, which is just like a few chapters. This is not like this book needed to be longer. This needed to be more than one book. So after all that, she's, believes that, the Herja are going to come. They outnumber the Riki and the Asuka, and they need to team up to fight together. So that's how the book ends, with them like teaming up and taking out this other tribe. And it totally works. She just goes back with Fisk, and there's a very awkward, intimate scene with them, which I did not care for, did not buy into. They fight against the Herja, and there's a raid, and she tortures one of the guys to get the information that they need to figure out, like, okay, how bad is this? How many villages have they raided? She this is gonna be graphic. She pops the guy's eye out, and is holding it, as a torturing him. I guess they wanted to give her that, oh, look, she's really BA moment. I felt nothing. I was like, oh, we're in torture now. Now we're torturing people. We're the good guys. We're better than them. The Riki have slaves, literal slaves, and are we're supposed to buy in that Riki and Asuka are they're the good ones. They're the ones that you should totally be behind in this war. So yeah, she goes back. She tells her dad and other tribe, hey, we need to get on board. We need to fight with the Riki. We're going to defeat these eviler than us tribe. They're bad, we're good. And then we can have a truce. And so she gets all that to happen, and at the end they fight. It's a couple pages of a big battle that apparently is all it takes for them to wipe out this whole other big tribe, and that's the end. And then they have this truce, and she's with Fisk, and I don't even know, man. I don't get it. I don't understand why people like this book. I don't know why it works, but it doesn't work for me. Because I wanted more, and this is not just it being YA. I read YA. I like a lot of YA books, but I could not connect. I did not believe this. I was like, no, why are you good? Why are they bad? And they show them going up and finding them sleeping, it's the, they're going in a sneak attack, and they see the Herja, the guys, the women and men, and they have women in their fighting force, and they're just, at one point they say something like the Herja take their captives and sacrifice them to their gods or something. And I'm like, okay, but you have slaves. So, we can't, the morality is so murky, and the author just doesn't take the time to establish that there's a reason why we have to go, why we're on this team versus the other one. As far as I can tell, you're all just Viking tribes, and you've just decided that this needs to happen for the ending to happen so you can have your two people be together. And so here we are, and that's the end. Yep, I would say 2 stars. The writing wasn't terrible, but that's all I can really give this book. I didn't like the characters, didn't like Aelin, not her fault. She just is basically a non-character. Didn't like Eerie. I could not believe they didn't give him more justification. I was waiting for it. I was waiting for the speech. I was waiting for him to have a whole big, this is why I'm on their side. I have to fight with them. I have to go against my own tribe. I was waiting and waiting for that big justification, the twist that would prove that he was justified in what he was doing. He was not. I kept waiting for anything to establish some romance between Aelin and Fisk, or something that would establish the Herja as being this really, really evil, we got to go up against them. I feel like the only thing that was really established was there's quite a bit of talk about the 2 Viking gods, and I didn't care about that background. No one is really good. Like I said, one of the spiritual leaders that are called the Tala sees Aelin at one point tied up in the woods by this other guy who, I know it gets explained, but this other guy that kind of has been after her. He ties her up in the woods to die, and the Tala sees her and leaves her to die. And then later, the Tala's like, oh, well, you got saved. It must have been the will of the gods, our God, that you got saved. And she's like, you saw me and you didn't save me. And she's like, no, but you did get saved. And I'm like, wait a minute. She didn't know that she was going to get saved. She got saved by Fisk, obviously, to establish romance. But this other lady's just like, well, it happened, so I guess it was supposed to happen. And I didn't really do anything wrong because it was all part of this, God's will that you were saved. And so now you have to fight with us, No. I can't talk about this anymore. I want to move on from this book. I did not like it. I will not read this again. I will read Fable by Adrienne Young and see if it's better and let you know what I think about it. So yeah, I am so glad that I'm done with this book. I am back on Rurouni Kenshin, which is what I've been reading. So I'm excited to just get back into that and be done. I also have to start picking my TBR for March. If you have any suggestions, let me know. If there's any classics, I'm kind of looking for like a classic for March. So if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments and I will talk to you guys soon.